Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go on a little trip to a local vineyard in Oxfordshire called Bothy Vineyard, which also happens to be the oldest vineyard in Oxfordshire, and the first vines there were planted in 1978. So we're going to head over to Bothy, go on a little tour around the vineyard, meet the viticulturalist and owner, and then we're going to come back and taste this wine, the Oxford Dry. This was my second visit to Oxfordshire's oldest vineyard, located barely a couple of miles from my home. The name Bothy comes from a Scottish word for a small stone cottage used as shelter and refuge for shepherds or anyone else needing shelter from the elements. Bothy's current owners, Cyan and Richard Levitsky, moved in 15 years ago, renovating the Bothy that stood on their property into their current home. The sign might look dramatic, but asphyxiation by carbon dioxide is a very real danger in a winery, as large amounts of CO2 are released by the yeast during fermentation. This is the grape press and a couple of the oak barrels used to mature their blended red wine. After pressing, the white varietals are fermented separately in beer fermentation tanks, while the red varietals are fermented together in these variable capacity fermentation tanks. Bothy produces around 5,000 bottles every year. And this is the temperature-controlled room where the bottled wine is stored. Making wine in an environmentally friendly way is at the core of everything Bothy does. They even use second-hand wine boxes to package their wine, instead of their own branded boxes. The 3.5-acre or 1.5-hectare vineyard sits on 20 foot of free-draining sand. Rather a blessing considering how damp the Oxford climate gets. The overflowing vine canopy and lush grasses between the vine rows are quite a contrast to the arid vineyards of the Cape that I've grown used to. Bothy plants 5 different white varietals and 3 different red varietals, and all of these are German grape hybrids. I came on the day that their vineyard manager, Ed, was spraying fungicide on the vines. Besides fungus, birds are the biggest pest that threaten the vines here. The harvest here begins during the first or second week of October, and Bothy relies on a troop of volunteers, all of whom are treated to Cyan's baking and home-cooked meals. Not to mention a healthier quantity of wine as well. And every second year, Bothy is home to Oxfordshire's largest outdoor sculpture exhibition. Bothy makes 2 whites, a rosé and a red wine. They've named their red Côte Bothy, a tongue-in-cheek play on the French appellation Côte Rôtie. And, rather like a Northern Rhone blend, it also has a dash of white wine in it too. Now that you've seen what an English vineyard looks like, let's try some English wine. So I've chosen this one because it's actually my favourite of the wines that Bothy make, and it's called the Oxford Dry. It's a dry white, surprise, surprise, and it's a blend of Bacchus, Huxelrebe, Findling and Perle, which are all German grape varietals. So let's pop it open. I am using today this fancy toy here. It's a really crazy wine opening contraption. So before I open it, as you can see, Bothy have this beautiful cork, and the horse you see there is actually an ancient carving in an Oxfordshire hillside called the White Horse. So a little bit of local trivia for you. And they've decided to purposefully leave the bottleneck casing off. The logic being they've spent so much on these beautiful corks, so why cover them? And I totally love this naked look. So this weird thing, okay, if I can, yeah, it's quite terrifying. So you pop it in, you clamp it down, you go like this all the way down, and then just pop it up. Nice. I don't actually know what the make of this thing is or anything about it. It's just something lying around the house. So Bacchus is quite similar to Sauvignon Blanc in aroma characteristics, but obviously Bacchus is a more appropriate grape varietal to be grown in this very sort of damp climate that we have here in Oxfordshire. And as you saw from the footage back at Bothy, The vine canopy is absolutely massive and goes crazy with growth. And instantly I'm smelling those beautiful fresh elderflower and grassy green asparagus-y aromas that we often associate with Sauvignon Blanc. Beautiful. Yeah, on the palate as well, those nice fresh elderflower flavors, which for me are just the epitome of British summertime. So grassiness, elderflowerness, there's a bit of lemon. So light in body, alcohol wise 11.5, so a little bit lower than you would get in South African Sauvignon Blancs. Also, the intensity of aroma is a lot more modest than some of the South African Sauvignon Blancs, and definitely a lot more modest than those New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, which can get really, really pungent. I'm talking a lot about Sauvignon Blanc, but this is actually Bacchus and a mix of 3 other grapes, as I mentioned. But certainly if I was given this in a blind tasting, I would probably say it was Sauvignon Blanc for sure. It's got a fairly long finish, but it's very subtle, so you might immediately think that this doesn't have much of a finish at all, but there's definitely something lingering there. Quite similar in composition, if you want to call it that, to an Oxfordshire rosé I had the other day. So similar kind of mouthfeel, similar body and freshness. Very easy drinking, nice quaffable wines, perfect for the daytime and also this kind of time of the afternoon stroke evening. Good job, Bothy. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that introduction to an English vineyard and English wines if you haven't already tried some for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and head over to Facebook and join the conversation there. Thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.